Good evening, everybody. Happy Tuesday. Welcome to another episode of Delve Requisite right here on Proficiency Bonus. We are joined this week by the crew of the Grimm's Folly. Down two. We have some life events occurring in the lives of some of our parties. Christy, who plays Nimue, is currently moving. She's doing a relocation, so she's been moving things into her new place. Unfortunately, Victoria, our resident druid, has experienced a loss in the family. So she is taking a little bit of time off to, sort of regroup and be with family. And our hearts and our thoughts go out to her and to her family. We wish them nothing but a healing and peaceful time of getting through this event that they've experienced. So we will press on without both of those guys this week, but we're going to continue with the story as we last left it off last week. Regardless, before we jump into things, I am going to take a moment to thank our sponsors, Cardboard Castle Games and Little Dragon Corp. Cardboard Castle Games is I'm doing them first. I never do them first. Cardboard Castle Games is a brick and mortar tabletop RPG store located here in the United States, in Evans, Georgia. So if you are local to Cardboard Castle Games in Georgia, stop in, say hello. Maybe buy some of their fine wares. Preferably wear a mask when you do so. Because it's bad out there, y'all. Anyway, enough bummers. Back to D&D. If you are not local to Evans, Georgia, or you are local to Evans, Georgia, but you are cognizant of the aforementioned bummer that we're not going to talk about anymore, you can go online and you can shop on their online website and get any number of fine tabletop gaming products from their site. And you can get that link, as you can see in chat right now, by typing !CCG. You can also type !Little Dragon for a link to Little Dragon Corp's website. They are a Canadian-based dice company. They make polyhedral dice, they sell polyhedral dice for games like D&D and other stuff. Power Rangers game. So you can check them out, and if you decide to buy anything from them, from their wide array of fine and fantastic dice, you can use our code PROBONUS at checkout for 10% off your order. Thank you to Cardboard Castle Games and Little Dragon Corp for sponsoring Proficiency Bonus. So, without further ado, I'll give you guys a quick recap of what we were doing last time, and then we will jump with both feet right into this bad boy. So, the party escaped by the skin of their teeth from the Ignean imperial city of Umyath Durai, where they have uncovered the next sort of layer of a unfolding plot by the Ignean Empire to kidnap and experiment upon Naporian lunar warriors for some nefarious purpose. And in the process, they have stumbled into a much larger and much grander plot, one involving, apparently, the seizure of all active members of the Ordinum Libri, or the bookkeepers, within the Empire's borders, in a widespread, coordinated move that took place shortly before the party's arrival in the city, as well as the near completion of a massive armada of naval ships preparing to be launched from the shipyards of the city. Party returned to Nimue, party member Nimue's home island of Naporia, to warn her people of what they had learned, as well as to arrange passage via teleportation magic to Terra Libra, the free city-state of the Ordinum Librae, located within the Kingdom of Mithlande, so that they can bring back their new acquaintance, Aora Veshta, the previous head of the Ordinum's enclave in Umyath Durai, to report on what had happened to the bookkeepers. And in exchange, they are hoping to have the journals of one Arcanist Thessene translated for them, hoping it will give them further clues as to the Ignian's plots for Niporian lunar warriors, and potentially, that is the sort of the concern of Nimue, or the one of the concerns of Nimue, potentially the fate of her twin brother. Sending word to the bookkeepers via messenger sparrow will take some time, so the party has a bit of downtime on Niporia. Nimue, Sela, and Rowan have elected to stay on the island of Niporia, along with a handful of their sort of cadre of people that they have accumulated over the course of their adventure so far, while Murderbeard and Thyxus, along with the crew of the Grimm's Folly, have set sail heading back to Glasgow, the pirate haven, where they are intending to meet with the other pirate captains and with Gareth Blackwell, the governor of Glasgow, to tell them of the impending danger of this massive Ignian armada, and to perhaps make plans as to what may be unfurling next. Last week we spent some time with Nimue and Sela and Rowan, as Sela kind of took them out on a midnight sail where they went and they found some whales, and they swam with some whales in an experience that was deeply spiritually important for party member Sela. So upon returning, basically Sela is kind of going to peel off from the other two, and basically says she needs to spend some time kind of contemplating the experience that she had and the things that she has learned from this. Nimue is going to head up to the Lunar Warrior school to train, to spend some time with her father, since she is only recently back on speaking terms with him and is sort of trying to mend fences in that department. Which leaves Rowan kind of on her own in Niporia. But we will come back to that briefly, as we will start with boys trip. Murderbeard, for those of you at home, the hat, that's the boys trip hat, in case you aren't aware.
Murderbeard is also wearing board shorts.
You look like a high fantasy sci-fi hybrid, like dwarven space trucker is what you look like.
Yep, that's what I am.
Nailed it.
Oh, hey, I see Praetor's Rejects in the chat here. Hello. How you doing, bud?
Oh, hey, breaker, 1, 2.
Yes.
And canceled.
And canceled.
Yeah, it's canceled. It's a while since we brought out the canceled button.
I felt it was time.
Plot twist, this is where I just use Michael to reenact all of Smokey and the Bandit.
Yep.
And Michael Slyxus will be playing the part of Sally Field.
Oh, unfortunate casting choices. Anyway, you guys set sail from the island of Niporia, from the small nation of Niporia, and you are heading for the Isle of Glasgow. You guys know it's about 5 days of a sail from here to Glasgow. I can actually pop this down so you can take a look at the invisible Niporia. You guys can take a look at the island map here. So you guys are heading from Niporia, which is sort of in the center, slightly north to Glasgow, which is, I now realize, preposterously disproportioned on this map that I have drawn. As Glasgow is supposed to be much smaller than Naporia, and it looks like it's about twice the size on this map. I will,
What do they call that whenever they do the globe maps and whenever they flatten them out? There's distortion with the sizes of the. It has a special name. I can't remember. Sure. We can blame it on that.
I think what it is it's another map phenomenon in which like whatever the country of origin that like drew the map, like their shit is always way bigger than everybody else's.
Oh yeah.
It's that. Like, what the Irish drew this particular map, so they're like, oh, look how big our island is. Also, if I can peel back the Twitch stream curtain for a moment, I may have made this map and then like we went in and labeled things later as we needed islands. So get off my back. You guys are taking a pretty much straight shot southeast towards the Isle of Glasgow. You have 5 days worth of sailing, which we can. I'll kind of leave it up to you guys. Do you want me to to hand you the narrative reins for a moment for some like at sea travel conversations, or do you want to fast travel to Glasgow?
Some at sea stuff.
Okay, so we'll say you are an indeterminate amount of the way through your traveling towards Glasgow. And you're just sort of sailing along your way, smooth sailing, midday. Crew is going about their business, and I will turn it over to you guys. Go ahead.
All right, Thixus. I don't think we're gonna get a better chance, so I think it's time that you learn to steer the boat.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I mean, we're in pretty open enough water. There's not really anything you're going to be able to crash into.
Thixus takes a look around as he says this. Is it just wide open ocean?
Roll a D100, Thixus. And I'm going to tell you this. If you roll a 1, or if you roll 100, I'm going to take... I got an entire page of notes for tonight's session. If you roll a 1 or 100, I'm going to throw them in the garbage, and we're going to do a whole different thing.
Okay.
Based on this perception check.
D100.
Yes.
All right. A 42.
Okay. Yes, open water in all directions as far as the eye can see.
Well, I mean, I guess I could give it a shot.
Okay. Now, the first rule. This is very important, and this is going to be a bit of a duel lesson.
Okay. You think I can handle that much?
We're going to find out.
Okay. All right.
You know how ships are often referred to as she's?
She's?
Yes, like her, she.
Oh, right. Right. Yes, of course.
Well, here's the thing. The first rule of steering the ship is also the first rule of women. You gotta listen. Listening is very important.
Okay.
She'll tell you what she needs, and if you listen to it, you'll be able to do it. You got that?
Noted.
You thought I was gonna go somewhere weird with that, but I didn't.
I really didn't know where you were going with that, Captain.
Look, I was
gentle wind breezes through the sails and the rigging of the Grimm's Folly, and it almost sounds like a collective sigh of relief from the universe as that didn't go to a weird heteronormative sexist place.
Okay, and so you said there was another thing.
Well, yeah, the other thing is like listen to women. It's a metaphor and also real. Also not a metaphor.
Now I get it, Cap. Now you were.
Yeah, it's 2 lessons in one.
2 lessons in 1. All right. So, so I just take the wheel like this,
Yes.
and I listen.
Okay. What do you hear?
Lexus closes his eyes. I hear the water splashing up against the hull. I hear the breeze blowing the flags rapidly. What is that? Something just rubbed up against... Ugh. Sorry, my leg was itchy.
There's not much noise coming from the boat, which means she's generally doing all right, has no complaints. You're also not really doing anything, so...
Yeah, I really don't need to steer, right? I just...
In open water, no, not necessarily. Here's, and I go, and Vertebrate, like, puts one hand on the wheel and goes, here's the sound you really want to avoid. And he, like rips the wheel, and the boat makes that, like looking noise.
And the entire crew goes like, "Ah!"
Yeah.
Lexus will, like, reach out and try to stop the wheel as it's spinning.
Apora Dazan, like, as if they had, like, almost materialized out of thin air, is, like, beside you guys in the stern castle. And she goes, "Captain, you've taken evasive maneuvers. Where's the trouble?"
No trouble. Just a lesson on teaching Thixus how to drive.
They go, and walk over to, like, the front of the stern castle, and they like, raise their voice and call out, "As you were, men! The captain is teaching Thixus to drive the boat." And you just hear, like, one guy's like, "Okay." And everybody goes back to what they were doing.
Okay, so I know to avoid that. Now, so this is it.
This is the simplest part. You just take this a little while. It's a lot of getting used to standing around for long periods of time as well. Steering while in combat or having to make evasive maneuvers is quite a different thing, but we'll work up to that.
So, Captain, I got a question for you. Do you prefer the Grimm's Folly, this boat, or do you prefer your old ship, your old vessel that you used to drive and sail?
It's a bit of a tough question. I do enjoy the Grimm's Folly. She is a fine ship, but the Harlot's Fury was a piece of art, finely crafted. The Grimm's Folly is an Ignian ship repurposed.
True. Did you design your old vessel?
Oh no. The Harlot's Fury is quite old, older than me, in fact. It was sailed by my father before me, and it was sailed by the captain that he served under before him, and so on and so forth. She's an old ship, but well maintained, and much, much larger than this one.
What all did you know about your father? You got to grow up with him, right?
Well, I grew up with the man who became my father. I did not know my actual father. Captain Julius Hotspur was captain of the Harlot's Fury when my brother and I were brought aboard. And,
You said Julius?
yes. He, took us in, made us work hard, but he was a respectful and fair man. And he took a liking to us, and, well, he essentially adopted us without so much as legal things, as we were pirates and we weren't going to be filling out any documentation. And he...
And he was the man responsible for teaching you all that you know?
Mostly. There was another man. There was a dwarf. He was the cook. He's the one who taught me what it meant to be a dwarf. Hotspur taught me what it meant to be a pirate.
Right. Well, I do appreciate you taking the time to show me these things. It really does mean a lot to me. I didn't get this opportunity very much.
I get the feeling you didn't have the happiest childhood.
People around me did the best that they could. I don't blame them at all, but it's kind of hard when you're different. And my adopted parents, they did what they could, but they really didn't understand me. I was different. I was special. But nobody understood why. So I spent a lot of time searching for the answers, but never could find them. Till I ended up here, with all of you.
Well, perhaps we'll find what you're looking for.
If not, I'm content with this.
I will say, there are those you're born to, and there is those who you choose to be with. And oftentimes, those who you choose to be with are the better choice. And there is nothing wrong with that.
Captain, do you believe in things such as fate or destiny?
It's an interesting question, Thyxus. The cynic in me wants to say no. The cynic in me believes in no god, no afterlife, no fate. But the hopeful in me hopes that I am wrong.
I can respect that answer, Captain. And I just keep on steering straight ahead, letting my hair blow in the breeze a little bit.
Yeah, I think at that, that's where like Murder Beard will.
We're both like,
Yeah,
I'm holding the wheel, you're doing this, and your beard's blowing in the breeze, and my hair's blowing.
The music swells, and we ride into the sunset.
Sure. We'll shift perspectives. Then we will transfer our viewpoint back to Naporia. As I had said, Sela kind of like wandered off into the upper portion. All of Naporia sort of slanted on these like tiered, plateaued, terraced segments, and a lot of it is uncultivated. It's just trees and foliage and jungle and waterfalls. So she just sort of like took off into that to go be in the wilds for a while. Nimue is up at the Lunar Warrior School. What is Rowan doing with her? Like, we'll call it mid morning here. Where we join Rowan. What are you up to today, Rowan?
Given that my friends here have gone off, Rowan would probably have spent the morning, because the boat's gone too, but some of the crew stayed on Naporia, some of the group. So I probably,
yeah, a few of the people that you guys picked up in
Umyathrai
are there. Araveshta is here. The orcs specifically are not. And probably, let's see. That's pretty much it in terms of who stayed behind.
I probably would have just, had breakfast with them wherever we're all staying, and then started to just wander the streets that are borderline becoming familiar after having been here with Nimue before, and kind of just following the same paths we always do. Okay. I probably would go swing by the blacksmith, Hachiro's place, and to see Nimue's brother Zen, and just kind of check in and show off that I'm taking good care of the sword, and see if they need help with anything there. I'm kind of feeling useless at the moment.
So you wander around. You get a lot of like respectful like bows from people on your way past. You are pretty recognizable in Naporia at this point. Not just because you're like probably the only person on the island who carries around like full armor and like a shield and everything like that. But the whole Grimm's Folly gang is kind of, well known by reputation, at least at this point. So people kind of know who you are and are generally, pleased to see you, even if you don't really know who most of them are. So you sort of walk around and people say hello to you. They say good morning. You wander the streets, make your way kind of up the incline that leads up some of the hills towards the interior portion of the island, and wander your way up and find yourself out in front of the smithy. And you actually come upon kind of a scene in progress as you wander up there. You see Hachiro is sitting out in front of the smithy, which you can see behind them is dark. The forges are unlit and cool. Everything is quiet and shut down within. And he's sitting on like a stump seat, kind of out in front. He has a small like satchel dangling at his side, and he has a walking stick between his interlaced fingers that he's kind of like leaning on and sitting on. And he is watching Zen struggle to load up like a pack that you would expect a literal like pack mule to have like trouble carrying. It's like almost as big as he is, and he's like putting all sorts of like stuff into it and like trying to get it like picked up as you like come upon this scene.
Hachiro, Zen, what's going on? And I walk up and I give like slight bows to both of them before I go and try to help Zen with the pack. Okay. If he's trying to get it on his back, I'll try to like hoist it, but if he's just trying to like move it, I don't know, like whatever he wants help with the lifting of it.
Yeah, so what he seems to be having trouble with now is that it doesn't seem like he has done a great job of like securing what is in and attached to the pack. So like every time he's like trying to pick it up, but he keeps like losing things. Mm-hmm. So you kind of move to help him with that, and he sort of bows. He's like, "Oh, thank you, Rowan." And Hachiro looks over you and he says, "Today we make a journey. I am in need of an ingredient that I use in the forging of my blades. It is not often that I must replenish my supply, but today is such a day." He looks at Zen, and he says, "But I am old, and I have a young apprentice for such things, and he must learn anyway. Zen is to accompany me and learn how this ingredient is collected." And he has a very extreme case of like old man grouse face, and he says, "If he could ever appropriately load the pack." And Zen is like, I'm trying." He says, he turns to you and he goes, "I don't think that he ever brought this much things up there."
Well, maybe it's a test of your patience or your visualization of things in a bag. Do you want to reset it? I'll help you really quick.
He goes, "It is a test of how much of his cantankerous crap I will put up with."
So patience.
He says, he kind of looks towards Hachiro, and Hachiro like gestures as if giving permission for you to help him.
Okay.
So you unpack the stuff in this bag.
Mm-hmm.
What you take out of here. There are some like smithing tools, but the majority of what's in this pack is like a very strange assortment of things. There are several like clay pots which have been like wax sealed and tied shut, that when you like shift them out feels like there is like grain or rice or something in them. There are a whole bunch of candles. There is several bundles of like incense. There are these fairly long like stakes, like you would drive into the ground. Several wrapped and bound bundles of these like what look like these like silken ribbons. And like it's just this random assortment of other things in here. And go ahead and make me let's call this a straight intelligence check. And Zen will roll one as well. We'll see how Zen rolled a nat one. So this is really going to come down to you, Rowan. Roll me a straight intelligence check. See how you guys do repacking this.
18 total.
Okay. So you
+4, man, +4.
Oh dang. Okay, so you managed to get this pack put together. Zen keeps trying to like he keeps like those long stakes like clearly need to be like put last and like lashed to the side and carried, and he keeps like trying to slide them in sideways first.
Eventually I just lightly like smack his hand away and go, I think I have a plan, and I kind of imagining like this is how I used to pack for trips with the Radiant Dawn.
Sure.
So I'm kind of like, no, there's a way we do this, and I'm doing it that way.
You pack this, you get it all packed. It's still massive and like over full, but it is all in there and it is all secured. And Zen kind of like he looks at it and he goes, there's a whistle, and he says, "You pack with the efficiency of a military person." And Hachiro goes, "No, she packs only with the brain of a person who is not an idiot." And Zen is like,
I pat Zen on the shoulder, quietly apologizing for showing him up in front of Hachiro, And I look to Hachiro and I say, would it be a bother if I maybe went with you on this adventure? Nimwe's helping her father, Scylla's helping, I assume, the farmlands. She kind of just went that way. And the crew went on a trip, and so I'm here with nobody to hang out with, and I'd like to be of some use.
Hachiro like strokes his chin. He gets up from his like
I'm afraid
steps.
of him. Oh god.
He turns away from you and he looks up in the direction of sort of like the mist-covered, plateaued, waterfall dotted mountains that make up you know, the upper portions of Naporia. And he looks kind of to an area in between where you know the long tall tower that serves as the spiritual center for the island, and then the like the civic center, which is more on like the southern portion of the island. He looks like a kind of a blank stretch between the two, and he contemplates out at the island for a few moments, and he takes a deep breath, and as he blows out his breath, you would almost swear that like the wind rolling across the island like gusts in time with the exhalation of his breath for a moment, and he turns back to you and he says, The spirits are restless. It will be good to have you along, I think. You will join us.
I bow and say thank you, and then I look to Zen and I quietly say out of the corner of my mouth, do you want me to carry the pack?
He shakes his head and he says, no, I better do it. I fully cannot do the accent that Nimue does for her character. So in trying to do it for her brother, it's been batshit bonkers all over the place tonight. I can sometimes pull it off when she's here talking and I can listen to her and imitate it. Without her here, it's fully gone. I cannot do it tonight.
Okay, I smile and just say, and nod, let me know if you need help with any of it. And I purposely go stand next to Hachiro and try to I guess just not by doing anything, but just kind of stepping closer to him, hoping he's looking at me while Zen tries to haul that thing on his back. I'm trying to give Zen some kind of
Zen actually now that it's packed and stuff neatly, Zen is
he's strong, but I just worry.
Large lad. You know he's a little bit younger than he's a little bit younger than Nimue, maybe 3 or 4 years younger than Nimue. So he's early to mid 20s. He's kind of slender of frame, but you can sort of tell, even though traditionally the garb here is fairly baggy, so it disguises it a little bit. He's all wire and muscle beneath his his clothing here. He's a blacksmith's apprentice. He's extremely physical. So now that this thing is loaded, he pretty much hefts it up onto his pack, and it's the pack is extends like a foot on either side of his shoulders and is this above him. But he kind of gets it up there and he just sort of hunkers into position. He nods, and he says, "Okay, I'm ready to go." And Hachiro kind of nods and he says, "Let us begin." He sort of looks over to you as you guys start walking around. He goes, "This will take 2 days."
That's fine. Everyone's busy, and I'm sure someone will see us leave, and everyone will know I'm with you. So Nimue and Scylla won't worry. It'll be okay.
He nods. He says, "Very well." And you guys begin to walk. You head up towards the sort of the deeper interior of the island, and some of the sort of the less cultivated and tamed portions of sort of forest and jungle area here. And as that happens, we will pan again back to the Grimm's Folly as you guys are a few days later. You guys are sailing into port at the Isle of Glasgow. Both of you guys can make a perception check for me as you guys like pull into the harbor here at the Isle of Glasgow.
It's a dirty 20.
A dirty 20 and a 4?
Yep.
Okay. So, Thysis, you kind of are examining the island. There are two things that you notice with the dirty 20. The first is that several of the vessels that are in the harbor right now in the docks, you recognize. You recognize the Arrowhead, which is the vessel of the half-orc captainess, Captain Vita Ridley. You recognize the Gilia, which is Hooper Sea Dog Barton's vessel. You recognize the Spinning Leaf, which is Captain Dash Through Rain, the Tabaxi pirates vessel. And you recognize the Shrike, Captain Thorne's ship, are all in the harbor right now. You also notice that there are a flurry of other ships. Russell, even with a 4, Macbeth does notice this. Like, there's a lot of activity at Glasgow right now. What you notice, Thyxis, about these vessels is that they are all manner of mix-matched, like, barges and tugs and fishing vessels and like there's like a scattered, like, what appears to be like a pleasure yacht, essentially, just like a completely aesthetic, just like not intended to be functional in any way. All sorts of things. They are largely not in the, like, best of condition. In fact, many of them bear signs of, like, suffering recent damage. But what they all are doing is they are all hauling material. You see, like, lumber and canvas and rope and metal and just, like, building material is being, like, ferried into Glasgow at like a frenetic pace. And a lot of it is is actually not being brought, like, into the harbor. Some of it is, but a lot of it is being brought around the, like, southeast corner of the island and, like, hooked around where Fort Blackwell sits, like, kind of looming over the harbor. It's being brought around to the far side of the island, in that direction. So that's the sort of.
Captain, you see this? What's going on?
My best guess would be that they got our message. Although I could be wrong. It could be something else entirely.
It's one-legged Pete's daughter's quinceañera this week. We're throwing a real big party. So this is what you guys see as you are making anchor at Glasgow. You guys are able to dock, no problem. So the island is yours. Do you need the directory of island stuff, or do you have it? I actually think it might be pinned for you guys in Discord.
It might be.
We'll find
If
out.
not, I will send it to you. It is pinned in the Grimm's Folly.
Oh yeah, I see it.
Channel.
It's also in the group notes on page 7.
7 in the group notes.
What Brittany failed to mention is this is, in fact, page 7 of, hang on, let me check, 215.
We got the South Docks, the Iron Pony, the Long Shot Inn, the
The
General
Iron
Store,
Pony,
the Harbor Inn.
just as a refresher, the Iron Pony is the establishment run by Macbeth's daughter, Una.
Yes, number 6, blacksmith, described as a blacksmith.
Blacksmith. Listen, it's not always like high fantasy riffraff. Sometimes it's just a blacksmith.
Don't forget to stop at number 11 on the list.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
I have
Dang,
the.
I don't know.
11 is Maybell's Bordello, described as wink. That is the famous place of business of Rutabaga.
We do have to go to the.
We have to go to the herbalist. We have that list.
Yes, you were given instructions to go to the herbalist by Sheila, and you were given instructions to go to the abandoned plantation to talk to Willow by either Nimue or Rowan, one of the two of them.
Nimue said it. Rowan was nodding enthusiastically. She just remembered about her too.
Captain, I do need to speak with. I believe his name was Lupin. Am I correct in saying Lupin? I can't remember 100%. The forgery.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yes, I didn't know. Yes,
Yeah, no,
I was swept away in the high fantasy of your conversation.
You expected me to know the name of somebody?
Murderbeard's like, Thyxus, I learned your name like 4 days ago. I don't know
Murderbeard's like, I don't know who you're talking about, Thyxus. There's just all the party's members' names are like written on his hand.
Thyxus just realized that he never told Lupin what exactly is going on and why he's being towed around with us.
Yes,
so
Lupin Engon is the halfling forger that you guys have picked up.
Yeah, I would approach Lupin and say to him, Lupin, we had been thinking and we come up with what we thought would be a better plan for you and for future business that you could run. You could establish some sort of perhaps office or some kind of place of station here on Glazow. That way, if any other individuals such as us needed your assistance, they could come here to find you. It'd make it so much easier because then you wouldn't be stuck on this vessel the whole time. Other people could pay you for your services.
Oh, it works for me, he says, and not for nothing, but being on land sure makes my particular craft easier. It is incredibly hard to forge signatures while you're doing this the whole time.
I can
And of
trust
course,
me.
we would only take a moderate portion of your as we did save your life, give you the idea, and also are pirates.
Make an intimidation check.
Okay. Oh boy. That's a 27.
He says,
That's an 18.
are you entirely sure you wouldn't just prefer to take all of my profits and just whatever you felt necessary to give me to live and survive on? Because that seems like it would be a fair deal. I mean, honestly, that's and he quickly turns and he's like, please, don't let him stab me.
Oh, he's not gonna stab you. He just, Captain.
No, I've heard him threaten to stab at least 4 people a day since I've been on this boat. It's you know how some people are like, good morning. He's like, I'll stab you. That's his thing.
After a while, though, you kind of get numb to it, though. You know, just
the
let it kind
stabbing?
of. No, to the saying of the stabbing. I have not. Well, I've been stabbed by other people, but not by Captain.
Well, I would like to defend my character here. I don't think I've ever once threatened to stab anybody this whole campaign.
He like turns and looks. Everybody on the deck of the ship is like, and just like goes back to their work.
Yeah, well, you best get back to your work, or I'll stab you.
He just did it again.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Captain, do you think Una would perhaps give Lupin or offer a place within her establishment that Lupin could, begin his business?
Yeah, probably.
Well, it's settled then. I mean, this will be great. And then when we need your services, Lupin, we know exactly where to find you.
That sounds great to me.
Great. Get whatever things you have ready, and we'll take you over to, I believe it's the Iron Pony. Is that correct, Captain?
Sure.
He goes, yeah, sure. Let me just grab all of my belongings. Okay, I'm done.
He
right.
Your belongings.
He hikes up his pants.
He hikes up his trousers, and he goes, okay.
Feeling bad about this, Thyxus looks over in the corner, and he sees a old rolled up piece of rope, and I pick it up, and I put it over his shoulder, and I grab an old broom that's in the corner just chilling there, and I hand it to him, like, there you are. You have some belongings.
Your generosity is boundless and admirable.
You can thank the captain.
We're gonna charge you for that broom.
So, but several minutes of psychological torture later, you guys disembark the vessel. You are making your way towards the Iron Pony, and Captain Thorn comes like striding down the dock from ashore in your guys' direction as you are like making your way. And he immediately looks to you and he says, we didn't know if we'd be seeing you here. You made it out of the Agnian City then, and you're sure you weren't followed?
Pretty sure. We also didn't come straight here, so...
Smart.
If we were followed, they didn't follow us here.
He nods and he says, Blackwell got your message and immediately alerted the rest of us to the danger. We've assembled the captains and sent out missives. He says, Captain Frederick and the Joule are the only ones not to arrive now that you're here with Grimm's Folly. He looks and he says, you're a bit light on your crew. I hope my condolences aren't in order and there's some other explanation for their absence.
No condolences necessary. We left the majority of the crew in the previous location, as we did not seem necessary to bring everyone, and they had other business to attend to.
He nods. He says, "Very good." He says, "We've been waiting for either you to show up or for the rest of the captains to assemble themselves, or any other word. He kind of gestures towards all the activity. We've been making preparations one way or the other. But now that you're here, it seems in order that we have a proper conversation about this. He says, I'll send word to the others and gather the captains. He says, take a bit of time if you need to get settled in here, and then we can all gather up at the Iron Pony and discuss the matter at hand.
Right.
So he kind of like nods to you. He turns on his heel and moves off in the other direction. From somewhere within like the cluster of buildings that makes up the town of Glasgow proper, you see Henry, the blue macaw, comes like flies out, and he just raises a hand. Henry kind of like lands on his forearm, and as he's like walking away from you, he's like, you can't hear him, but you can see he like turns as if he's like talking to the bird. And then he like gives one of these, and Henry like takes wing again and flies off northward, like across to the docks on the far side of the island, and he peels off to the right, heading to the east towards Fort Blackwell.
That's a really cool bird.
Aye. Actually, should I get a bird?
Have you've never had a bird?
No, I never really thought about it.
Yeah, I
Probably
think
a guy on the island that sells birds, right?
there's got to be.
Put that
Thanks.
on-
This is gonna look around and see if anyone else has birds.
Put that on the list. We're gonna look into birds.
Make a perception check.
Okay.
I'll also look around. Oh, my last perception check is, not much better.
Well, that's only a 4.
13.
You don't see, so like Thorn is the only one you guys have encountered who has like the classic pirate parrot yet. But like there's a lot of birds around. There's like cages with various types of birds kind of all over the place, like you recognize like that they're air quotes birds, because they're messenger sparrows, which are like sort of technically not actually birds so much as they are like living arcane constructs designed for like a specific purpose. So like there's a lot of birds, but like pirates with like, alright, this is my pirate and this is my eye patch, or this is my parrot's eye patch. Like not a lot of that.
Maybe
We'll
we
look at-
can.
we'll
Yeah,
ask
maybe
around.
maybe we could even find one in the wild and you could tame it or something. I don't know.
I'd prefer to buy one, but yeah, that'll be plan B.
Okay.
We'll
Got
ask
it.
around.
Alright, so you guys are heading to
Come on,
the,
Lupin, chop chop.
He's like,
Keep your eye open for birds.
That
the time he's got his
That-
broom piece of rope.
Oh, that rope isn't that heavy. Come on. Just walk
Okay.
away from him.
You guys head to the Iron Pony.
Do
Right.
we have to pass the herbalist to get to the Iron Pony?
No, the Herbalist is deeper in.
Okay, then yeah. We
I thought the herbalist was like the north side of town or something like that. Wasn't just like way out of the way.
Middle, in this
Oh,
little
okay.
area, kind of in the middle, in the dead center here. She's one of these.
Okay.
So you guys head to the Iron Pony. It looks much the same as it did last time. You do notice that a lot of the stools are different. You get the sense that they probably go through a lot of stools in various stool smashing bar fight situations. But other than that, the bar looks very much the same. Wow. Okay. And Una is behind the bar. She sees you, sees the two of you come in. She sort of like lifts a bottle that she has in her hand at the moment. She says, I I'd heard the commotion. I'd be wondering when you were coming back through, Father.
It's only a matter of time, especially with the whole war thing ruined.
It's good to see you again, Una.
She says, and you too,
Stixis.
That was going to be my first guess. She turns to you, Macbeth. She's like, yeah, I was definitely going to call him Thorpo. I fully did not remember his name.
Thorpo, that's a good bird name.
Thor. I suppose I'm I'm preferable to Admiral Feathers myself, but whatever floats your boat, proverbially speaking.
We'll get to that in a minute.
She says, I suppose you and the other captains will be having a need of my upstairs room in a time or two to be discussing the impending fiery death at the hands of the Ignian Empire that we all face, I suppose.
Yep, that seems rather imminent.
Which is
the meeting, not the fiery death.
Fair enough. Drink in the meantime?
Sure. Thanks.
Yes.
She like looks at the two of you and she says, very well. And she goes behind the bar and mixes up drinks. She sets a large sort of stone tankard in front of you, Macbeth. She says, one dwarven black stout for you, Father. And she slides like a martini glass with like a bright green liquid in it. She goes, hang on. She goes beneath the bar and she puts like one of those little umbrellas in it.
Oh wow.
And she goes, this would be a it's a scoundrel's nectar.
Scoundrel's nectar.
Aye.
Wow.
Aye.
How about one for my small friend here?
He like lifts his hand out of the bar. Like, aye. Oh, right. I mistook him for a stool. Sure. She kind of looks at him. She reaches down and she like pulls out a bottle with like a cork and she just pops the cork off and she goes, grog. And he goes, nah, okay. He takes it. So she goes, one grog, one dwarven, I already forgot what I said, dwarven stout, and a scoundrel's nectar. She says, drink up, me hearties.
Kirby picks up his tankard and turns to Thixis and says, do you know why it's served in a stone tankard, Thixis?
I really haven't any idea, Captain.
Well, it's quite simple. This is a very strong drink, and it would eat through anything else.
Nice. As he's like probably gulping this down, Thixis would have the martini glass, and he'd be going like this. Just a little bit at a time, you know?
She goes, aye, that's the spirit, enjoy it. The scoundrel's nectar is a finery enjoyed only by the most sophisticated of pirates. She, like, behind her hand, she goes like, it's an apple teeny, don't tell him.
Delicious.
She says, I suppose Blackwell and the others will be along any time now, but I've only heard sort of the mutterings. Seems like a lot of you sent a rather dire message about the incoming possibility of the Empire coming to do something terrible, eh? What is the scoop here? What's going on?
Just why don't you give her the details?
Well, there's a lot to unpack, Captain. I mean, where should we start?
I'll save you the trouble. He doesn't fucking remember. You're gonna have to tell me. He's had one of those. He says he is right. It will eat through wood in a matter of moments. It also has a similar effect on the memory of dwarfs. So you are gonna have to fill me in on the details until he pulls it back together in about 20 minutes or so.
Well, we got ourselves into a little trouble. And as we were escaping trouble, or at least attempting to, haphazardly, without much of a plan, sailing out of the Ignean city, which player Michael has forgotten.
Umyath Durai.
We were sailing out rather quickly and, bumped into a large number of Ignean vessels that looked rather equipped for sinking other vessels.
Now, when you say large number of vessels, are we talking 20? 30?
Sometimes when you wake up in the morning and you take a look out at the ocean and you see this dim, light-lit fog of the early morning horizon that seems to blind your view just a little bit. Imagine that, but with lots of boats. And you can't really tell how many there are because they're blinded by the mist and overlapping one another. It's kind of like that.
What?
Yeah, it was a fleet. It was a full-on invasion fleet.
And they're coming here?
Oh, yeah, we did get something specific that said they were coming to Glasgow.
I don't think that we ever got specifics
don't...
of what they were doing. We were just trying to get everybody on alert that hey, there's going to be a fleet out on the water.
They aren't necessarily coming to Glasgow, but that was enough of a fleet that it looks like they're gonna start a war with somebody. And as we all know, historically, pirates in the middle of wars usually get hit from both sides.
Unless they're smart, and then they profit massively. Well, sounds like there's quite a bit to be discussed when the other captains convene. Until then, bottoms up. And as the four of you drink your drinks, we will perspectives back to a few days ago, back on the island of Naporia. Rowan, you hiked the better part of the day up into the upper echelons of Naporia. You are probably a few hundred feet of elevation from the very highest points of the island's sort of tiered topography. You have been following what are barely more than game trails for the last hour-ish. And you come across a fairly sizable body of water. It is a sort of a waterfall-fed, naturally formed little lake. Probably not quite 1,000 feet long, and maybe half as wide. And it kind of trickles out the other end into a stream that heads off back kind of the way you came, heading further down the gradient to where it will form undoubtedly another waterfall further down. But Hachiro brings you guys, kind of leads your guys' way to a little bit of a clearing along the side of this lake, and he gestures for you guys to stop, and he says, "We must wait until the night has fallen. This is a good spot. We will make camp here." And then he goes over and he moves sort of towards the right up to the edge of the lake, where there is like an almost identical stump seat to the one that he had out in front of his shop, and he just like sits down on it and like takes off his sandals and like puts his feet in the water. And Zen is like, okay, we're going to have to set up the camp now, I suppose.
I think we'll be okay.
He says, I'm sure that we will, but honestly, I have no idea what we're doing up here.
Would probably be the second to last person on Earth to ask of what we're doing up here, but...
He says, on the list of people to ask, you probably are pretty low, yes.
I mean, it's nice to just see more of Naporia and not be seeing it while I'm fighting a giant thing, or fighting alongside a giant thing, or dealing with Ignians with cannons, and it's nice to just take a walk.
He busies himself, and you're able to help him kind of like set up a small camp, a couple of like small tents, some like bedroll dealies on the ground. He goes about the process of making a small campfire, and all the while Hachiro is just sitting at the edge of that lake, leaning on his walking stick again, and he's looking up towards where the waterfall like feeds down into this lake, like up above, and he's just like watching the like the space up above, the very top of that little waterfall that spits out the water that's feeding this lake is, to the sort of like cleared flat area up there. You don't see anything that like you're not sure like what he's looking at specifically up there so intently, because it just looks like blank plain like forest. And he just sits there quietly watching, kind of pays you guys no mind. And after a while, Zen says to you, he says, would it be okay if I were to ask you a question?
Of course.
He says, you're traveling with my sister.
Yes.
He says, does she seem happy to you?
I think she's had happy moments, but I know she's concerned about your brother, and that's kind of what got us to the Ignean city, where we saw the things that worried us and we came here, and we're trying to follow the leads. So I think right now she's more focused than happy. But
Yeah.
I've seen her laugh, and I've seen her tell jokes, and we've also seen her very sad. So it's kind of mixed right now.
He kind of nods. He says, Aiden is a lot like her. That is my other brother, her twin. He says they were always both like that, but more so, I think, after the change.
Are you talking about the change with the spirit of the island?
He says the ceremony that you saw was Nimue and Aiden and my older our older brother Dante, they all are lunar warriors. They all were chosen by the spirits, and he says I am the only of our family to be like my father, not to be host to a spirit. I do not have many memories of our mother, but at least with Dante and with Aiden and Nimue, I think the spirit in them, it makes them it makes it hard for them to discern what is their own feeling and what is the influence of the spirit. It is hard for them, I have always thought. In a lot of ways, I have always been glad that I was not chosen. He says, I like my life, and I like learning to smith with Master Hachiro. I don't think I was all that surprised when Nimue left, even though it has always been hard for our father to accept that his children have minds of their own. He expected that she would stay. But after Aiden left, it was only a matter of time. Perhaps for different reasons. I think she needed to find him. I think that he left because the spirit that he has bound with is telling him that there's something he must do. It was the same way with someone that was very close to the two of them, my sister and my brother, when they were much younger. He says they were Kenji when we were all much younger, but by the time they left, they had found themselves, and she was Yui. She was like them. She was the soul touched and had. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I don't know what all of the terms mean, but I think I understand what you're saying.
Oh, he says names.
Oh, okay. I was just like,
Kenji,
my brain broke.
He says this friend of my sister. He says they were they were Kenji when they were children, but it was not not their true self. Sometimes, especially with the soul touched, they find themselves later. This friend of my sister was no longer Kenji. She became Yui. This was the name she chose when she learned to embrace who it was that she was. She also left the island. She was the first of us, or at least of them, to do so. She had been close to Nimue and to Aiden. And I think still Nimue is mad at Yui for leaving. She did not tell anyone, even Nimue, as close as they were. That was why I knew when Aiden left as well, it was only a matter of time. He kind of just shakes his head and he says, my sister... I know my path. I want nothing more from my life than to stay here and to learn to make swords from Master Hachiro. My sister has always struggled to find hers. And I think she has long felt that the people who are supposed to help her to find her path keep leaving her. Yui, Aiden. Our father is still here, and I am glad that they are getting along again, but after my mother, even he was absent to her. So I worry, but I think the group of you seem like perhaps people who may help her to find the path that she is destined for.
I hope we are. I worry sometimes that aside of what we're doing to find Aiden, which I am fully in support of, I worry if we're all getting pulled in different directions than maybe what we would normally be. But then again, the way we all found each other was not what anyone could have ever expected. So I think at the very least we all have friends with us and people that will fight for us and protect us. And I think once we find Aiden, I think some of the hurt will lift from Nimue. And maybe she'll have an easier time after that.
He's thoughtful for a few moments, and he says, perhaps. He says, I want my sister to be happy, whatever the path that she takes is. And I hope that she can find our brother. I am worried for him. But I also hope that once she has, she perhaps can realize that it is I think it is only something that she is following to distract herself from figuring out what it is that she needs to do with her life.
I mean, in a way, I think we're all doing that on the ship right now. We're all helping Nimue, rather than going back to whatever it was we were all doing before. I know I'm very glad to have something else to focus on, so maybe it's the right distraction for all of us.
He kind of ponders this, and he says, things are rarely so easy to figure out. He kind of like stretches. He says, yes, not everyone can be as wise as me, who knows exactly what it is that he wants from his life.
I mean, if only we could all be so lucky.
He grins. You're interrupted as Hachiro stands up, and he goes, it is time. Then, bring the pack. Rowan, come with me.
I do exactly as he says.
Okay. And he begins leading you guys around the lake shore towards where you can see like a path rises to head up in the direction of where that like waterfall area is. And as the group of them kind of like trek into the jungle in the steadily increasing darkness, Zen kind of like pulls a lantern, sort of like a lit oil lantern. We will kind of zoom out and return to Glazow. Similarly, in a night scene, I think the camera pans up away from the jungles of Naporia up to sort of the stars in the sky and the moon and the arcing ring of Ageria in the night sky, and then kind of pans back down on the sprawling little ramshackle village of Glazow on the pirate island here, which, as soon as I figured how to hide Naporia, we'll go back to Glazow. So darkness has fallen. You guys are in the Iron Pony at this point, and the other captains have kind of steadily arrived at the port the course of the last like hour. The large, imposing, half-orcish Captain Vita, Captain Vito Ridley, Sea Dog Barton, Captain Dash Through Rain, and Captain Thorn, as well as Gareth Blackwell, are all now in attendance. Charles Frederick still being the only missing member of your sort of conclave of pirate captains. You guys are upstairs in the that private room in the
Matt, Charles Blackwell was the captain of which ship?
Charles Frederick is the captain of the Jules.
Jules, okay.
Jules, the Jules. Gareth Blackwell is the governor of the island. Air quotes governor. So the group of you are up there. Una is also in the room for this one, I think. She's insisting on being present for this conversation. So the group of you are up there. Blackwell kind of like steeples his fingers on the large table that you guys are all seated around. And he says, rather than have you guys rehash this again, we'll presume that we've arrived at this scene like a minute or two into this meeting, after you guys have just like finished delivering your exposition of the the situation.
Am I present, or is this just captains?
I think you're definitely here.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, for sure. And Blackwell says, so we have no reason not to believe that Captain Macbeth and Mr. Thyxus' intel is anything but accurate. The Ignians are amassing a fleet. Have amassed a fleet. It is incomprehensible to me that they would amass that number of ships without intending to use them for something. The question at hand is, what do they intend to use them with? And what is our course of action? I have already taken certain steps to prepare for any number of potential possibilities. But this is and has been a place founded on the ideals of freedom and equality among its founding members. I am only one voice at this table. What say the rest of you of this matter? Captain Dash Through Rain says, we have no proof that these Ignians are even planning to sail in this direction. For all we know, they will go north, fight the Valandans or the dwarves of Krasiodor, or they will sail south around the Cape and attack Mithlinde. What interest do they have with Glasgow? This island is nothing to the Empire. And Sea Dog Barton says, I'll tell you what this island is to the Ignean Empire. This island is a symbol of a group of people who refuse to bend the knee and present their neck to have the boot pressed down on it. This island is also a collection of representatives who just whipped the ever-loving shit out of a half dozen of their vessels. One of which, he points at you, Macbeth, currently sailing one of them vessels around the high seas, mucking up people's days, and sailing into the harbours of their cities. He says, if I was them, whatever my plans were, with a fleet that size, I'd think nothing of breaking off 50 ships, coming and blowing us all to burning embers on their way to whatever their real goal is. No. There's no chance that this doesn't become our problem. Blackwell says, both valid points. We don't know what it is that the Empire intends with an armada of this size. It obviously must have a goal beyond the eradication of a handful of pirates. They would need a fraction of that amount of ships to accomplish that goal, so they have something else in mind. In addition to the Grimm's Follies intel about the goings-on with their apparent break from their long-standing neutrality agreement with the Ordinum Librae, I can only imagine they have machinations towards the mainland in some way. However, Barton makes a good point. We've bloodied their nose recently. He thumbs, out the window. He says, we are currently hauling the salvage from every single one of their ships that we've pillaged in the last several months into our harbors for our little project. He says, it is a very real possibility that they decide to come over here and wipe us all out on their way past. We need to discuss what our options are. Thorn looks at you, Macbeth, and he says, and what are your thoughts on the matter, Captain Murderbeard?
My thoughts are thus. Either way, whether they sail for us or not, I think we should be prepared. Worst case scenario, we were prepared and they leave us alone. Otherwise, if we write this off as a slim to none chance, what happens when they show up at our front door and we're not ready for them?
And how do you propose that we get ready for that? We've got 5 ships. The fort is formidable, aye. But if they send 30, 40, 50, 100 ships here, what could we possibly do to get ready? Vita Ridley, slams a fist on the table. She goes, we dig our heels in, and we make them pay for every inch of sand that they take in blood. That's what we do to get ready.
That's one thing.
Bart rolls his eyes.
That's one thing that we do.
He goes, that is a very orcish approach to the matter, but that does not leave us any less murdered at the end of it.
All right. Let's not bring race into it. Simmer down, my man. Second thing, and this is the bigger of the two. Your old pal Captain Murderbeard has just made a rather nice new friend. Somebody who's got connections with the super nerds. The magic super nerds. We might be able to bargain some sort of magical advantage from him. Like a giant bubble shield around the island! I don't know, that was just my first thought. Probably not that, but something.
Blackwell, kind of drums his fingers in his chin, and he says, that is certainly a possibility. It should be at least recognized at the table that while the island of Glasgow and the town here and the port within have served as safe harbor and meeting place for the gathered free captains, it is, in any technical terms, unaffiliated. Little comfort to any of us at this table, as we will all undoubtedly hang if we are taken captive by the Ignean Navy. But the people simply living their lives here on Glasgow would likely not be molested by the Empire should we simply scatter to the winds. Thorn says, you're suggesting you abandon your post, Governor. Blackwell says, oh no. I will accept whatever fate is to come. I will stay on Glasgow. Should the Empire come here and institute their own rule, they will undoubtedly hang me. I am suggesting that perhaps the pirate element with ships available to them make use of the particular advantage to those in our lifestyle. You are not tied down to borders, pieces of land, treaties, governorships. You're free. You can fly. Should they come, can disappear. You can live to fight them another day. If Glasgow attempts to fight the Ignean Navy, if they have indeed amassed a fleet of this size, we will lose. It is a simple fact. If we open our harbors to them and let them in, they will likely not harm any of the people living on this island. As I said, it will be my end, undoubtedly, but I have spent many years responsible for the people that live here. There is always a little project for the rest of you to lean on, should we lose Glasgow.
Does Murderbeard know what that is?
No.
Okay. Two things. We'll get to that second thing in a moment. I don't know about the rest of you, but to me, that sounds an awful lot like the words of a man who wants to be rid of the pirates and make a deal with the Empire. Does it not?
Make a persuasion roll.
Okay.
Can Thyxus, now that he said that, can make an insight check to see if he's feeling any vibes from this guy? Okay.
Natural 20 plus persuasion 9, so 29.
Okay.
All the times rolling that 20, that was
only
it.
a 10 on the insight.
Blackwell is, as every other time you've had a conversation with him, he is unflappable in the highest order. He does not look particularly flustered or shifty. He seems to it's almost as if he's reporting the news. Even at this suggestion of Murderbeard's that this guy's trying to sell us out. He doesn't really react to this. Murderbeard, you see Vita Ridley definitely turns towards Blackwell and is huh? Dash through rain kind of hisses a little bit, but doesn't seem sure. Barton, you get the impression seems to think that there's merit to that. He kind of he's kind of nodding a little bit, but he doesn't necessarily jump in, as you also sort of get the sense that Blackwell's suggestion that the pirates scatter is kind of what he wants anyway. So you think he kind of thinks you might have a point, but
Murderbeard will also be now let's get one thing straight. I'm not totally against the plan of us setting to the winds. It is an option. I'm just questioning our good governor's motives here.
Thorn kind of leans forward in his chair, speaking for the first time in a while. And he says, Governor Blackwell, by last reckoning, what's the bounty on your head in the Empire? And Blackwell says, I think the last I heard it was 30,000 regals. And he says, to the group of you, he says, knowing what you know about the Empire, how likely do you find them to cut a deal with a wanted criminal such as our good governor here. And stick to it. And not simply string him up anyway.
Question before I make my next Murderbeard statement. Does Murderbeard know how he became governor of Glasgow?
Yeah, probably.
Was he appointed by?
Yeah, not essentially.
Not the people of Glasgow, but it's like, did he get like essentially like a charter?
No. So like I said, like the governor of Glasgow is extremely air quotes as like there he has no official like title to like run this place. He essentially came here with like, you know, when the like the original pirates that kind of like pushed off the like quote unquote rightful rulership of this little island and like declared it free. He was just like among the crews of those guys, or he was like here already. You're not necessarily clear on that, but he was nobody of any particular importance. And he essentially just like, as they kind of, somebody had to run the damn island, like he just was so good at like, he's just so good at like logistics that he just sort of naturally became like the guy that everybody just like looked to be in charge. And he's been doing that for like 30 years at this point. And he, you know, he basically like has no real official title or holdings or power of any sort. He's like fully in charge of this island by like rule of he's doing a good job, so nobody is going to like stop him. But like Glasgow is, you know, technically to the Ignean standards is like outside of their rule of law and is like is not supposed to be. And he is like known to be the guy who essentially runs this, so like he's fully got like a price on his head for, you know, for that.
In that case, you make a point, cop, but still, not sure I trust him not to try.
Blackwell says, if I may suggest what I believe to be the appropriate course of action, perhaps it will assuage some of your fears. I would regret to think I had given you the impression that I am keen to remain here on the island while the rest of you sail to safety and face down the steadily growing sails of an Ignean armada. If I can at all avoid the end of the hangman's rope, I should very much like to do so. I believe, as Captain Murderbeard says, the island should prepare. I have already begun doing so, in fact. I am bolstering defenses at Fort Blackwell as we speak. We will not hold off a force of considerable size, should they send it, but this island has not stood free for as long as it has without being significantly defensible. I have also called to bear every single favor that I have with any free captain or even vaguely unscrupulous individual that is currently sailing the oceans of Orhul. He gestures towards Vita and Dash Through Rain, and he says, you two have been seeing to the project of salvaging and returning all of the wreckage of the small battle group that Captain Macbeth and his crew disabled some time ago. That has been the bulk of the material so far. But We are currently undertaking the largest single concentrated act of cooperative piracy that I dare say I have ever seen in my lifetime. Thorn kind of like, he nods and he says, "So, you're gonna try to build it then, are ya?" And Blackwell says, "I am." He says, "Glasgow is quite defensible. It is a very prominent location for the free captains of the sea. It is my home. It has been for many years now. Its single largest disadvantage is exactly as I stated before. It does not have the ability that you do to simply take to the wind, set sail, and disappear over the water from an incoming enemy. It's an island. It's stationary. I intend to build a safe haven for the free captains, any who would shirk the yoke of the oppressive governments of the Five Kingdoms that does not have that drawback. We are assembling as much material as we can to build the basis of what one day I hope will be an enormous, floating bastion city of piracy. There's a dog in the room currently who is being given a Kong treat. It's extremely disruptive to context of my monologue. Now the Dungeon Master's wife is doing the MC Hammer dance just off screen. Now she's gone. He says,
You can't touch this. Ding, ding.
"You can't touch this," and then he like power slides out of the room. He says, "Perhaps the Ignians do not come for us. Perhaps they have bigger fish to fry, as it were. I find that unlikely, that they would not at least throw a few cursory ships in our direction, just to be polite. Fire some cannonballs down our throat. I think we should fortify the island as much as possible and accelerate construction. Create ourselves a mobile port of safe harbor for the free captains. I don't know how much time we have, but if we are fast enough, perhaps we can make ready to move the pirate element off of Glasgow and leave it without such a target on its back for the future." Una actually kind of pipes in and she says, "I would like to point out that not everyone that lives on Glasgow is a pirate, just for posterity's sake.
How close to being completed is this little project?
Blackwell says, from completion, yes, likely. He says, but thanks to your contribution to the effort with the destruction of the Ignean battle group, I believe we have enough that within the next few months we can create something seaworthy enough to take a significant amount of our own people and resources from the island, leaving them free to govern themselves after we go, and hopefully a minuscule enough target not to risk the ire of the Empire, or at least a peaceful transfer of power.
Unless anyone else has any other ideas, I think that's our best bet.
Vita Ridley says, it still sounds like running away. And Dash Through Rain says, and how sure can we be that the people left here will be better off without us? The Empire comes in and takes things over, even if they do not simply put the entire town to the torch just out of principle. Will these people be ready? Will these people be better without us?
I think we can all certainly agree that we would give any and all native the option to join us. Give them the choice.
Barton says, I don't see that we have much choice. The Glasgow has stood as a port of safe harbor for the free captains. As long as it has is a miracle. Every single one of us in this room knew when we chose this life that we was committing ourselves to an existence which was by its nature transient. We're not men and women will put deep roots down anywhere. We're of the sea. That is what we have to fall back on when that ever-encroaching border comes for us. The laws, the regulations, the rules, the rulership, the quote-unquote civilized world carries in its wake. When it comes for us, we dance away on the winds. If we stay here, at best, they come and we're all dead. At worst, they come and every person on this island with us is dead. I support Blackwell. And he, reaches into his purse and takes a copper piece and, flings it into the center of the table.
Murdermaid will follow suit.
Thorn also, he doesn't throw it, he slides a copper piece in. He says, Glasgow has been a good home for us. But it was always going to come to an end. If this dead man's bastion of yours will come to fruition, Blackwell, I'll support that. Dash Through Rain puts a piece in and says, There is not a better option that I can see. And I would rather stand with the rest of you than go it alone, as it were. Vita Ridley alone does not, like, push a coin in to the center. Vita Ridley just, like, stands up from the table and says, "Disgraceful to not stand ground and hold what is yours, even if it means you die in the process. Better to die with your spine straight and your enemy's blood on your blade, with an arrow in the back as you try to run away. I will take my leave of this accord, and to the depths with all of you." And she stalks out of the room, slams the door behind her. Blackwell kind of looks around the room and he says, "Well, that went down with quite a bit less pulling of swords out of scabbards than I thought it was going to. I would say this was rather civil for one of our meetings, wouldn't you, Blackwell?" Blackwell says, "Yes, I will attempt to talk to Captain Ridley before she sets sail on the Arrowhead. Perhaps she can be swayed to our line of thinking." And he goes to say something else, but there is a, like, thundering of steps outside the door, and you guys think, like, perhaps Captain Ridley has come back to, like, and one more thing. But the door, like, busts open, and it's a, like, out-of-breath sailor who he, like, comes into the room. He's like, "Governor Blackwell, a skiff just pulled into the harbor. All splintered wood and scorch marks. There's a half-bloodied, half-dead sailor aboard it. He's one of Captain Frederick's men. The rest of the Jules is nowhere in sight. You better come quick." And Blackwell immediately, like, stands from his chair, and he looks to the rest of you, and he says, "I think it would be wise if you would all join me." And he, without another word, stalks out of the room.
Lexus would follow.
Okay. So the other captains get up and follow, and as they rush out of the room, we kind of zoom in on the flame and the candle sitting in the center of the table until the glow of the orange light sort of, like, fills our vision. And as that recedes again, we see that it is the glow of the orange light of the lantern that Ray holds. As Rowan, Ray, and Hachiro arrive at the sort of upper plateau with this small kind of what looks like to be like a spring-fed pool is feeding this waterfall that you guys are at the base of. There are some, like, little small spits of land, little like standable ground kind of scattered throughout this little pool, and it's just kind of like rock and tree otherwise sort of surrounding this area. Hachiro instructs Zen to set the pack down, and he says, "Take everything from there. We will set up here. I will do this side, and you will repeat on the far side exactly as I have done. Rowan, you will stay with me. This part my apprentice must do on his own if he is to learn." And Hachiro busies himself. He takes 2 of those stakes and he kind of like sticks them into the rocky, damp ground beside the pool. And he attaches, by tying them, to silken streamers that kind of like blow gently in the breeze. He takes several of those candles out and he places them on the ground, arrayed around this space, and he lights them. He sets a large wooden bowl in the center and puts a number of like crushed up leaves and some of the incense that he had brought and a few other like various ingredients, and he sets that to burning with they call it a small like strike of flint. And then he proceeds to walk around this sort of circle that he has created with his walking stick, and he carves just into sort of like the rocky soil. He begins to etch like kanji into the ground, like symbols. And he spends about 10 minutes doing this. And he turns to Ray and he says, "Study what I have done here and replicate there alongside that crooked tree." Zen begins to go and do this, quietly kind of studying this for a few minutes and then gathering up the like identical bundle of ingredients that Hachiro used and heading around this small pool. Hachiro just kind of like stands and is waiting, and you can just see Zen kind of going about this at the far side. And after a few moments, without turning to you, he says, "You carry your shoulders as if a great stone rests upon your back, Rowan."
I just nod because I don't know what to say to that because it's too true.
It's, the burdens of the mind and the spirit weigh on our bodies like a weight. He kind of like flicks his walking stick up in like a ready stance, and he says, "How can you hold your blade? How can you swing your weapon? How can you defend yourself against an opponent if you are burdened and weighed down?"
Trying to think of the polite way to answer. Rowan will slowly take out the sword that Hachiro made for her and hold it in the same stance.
He kind of like sets his cane back on the ground. He kind of looks at you holding the blade. He says, "The answer is you cannot." He says, "If you are to wield one of my blades, you will do so properly." He says, "I can see the boulder on your back, but I do not know from what it is made. What troubles your mind?"
I'll sheathe the blade and bow at him and say, "Troubles of things that may not make sense without knowing everything of my life. But mostly it is things that I feel I am better suited to carry than others might be able to."
I realize that I started this conversation with a metaphor about a rock. But let us speak plainly. That was incomprehensible.
What is on my back is because, and as I understand it, it is not the Naporian way to hold grudges, to hold anger and seek vengeance. And while I'm definitely angry and I do want vengeance, it's not so much a grudge as a proving ground that I know I have to face. But I need to find it first. And I can't let it go until I get there.
You have someone or something from your past that is not alright. A wrong done to you, an event which has put your life out of balance. You feel guilt that you hold this inside.
I think I feel guilt in the sense that I didn't stop what happened beforehand. I'm not guilty of what happened, and I don't feel bad for being angry, because I think that's what kept me alive.
He reaches down and he picks up a egg-sized rock. He holds it up. And he walks up to you and he just lets it go. He just drops it and it just falls at his feet. And it goes and he goes, "Prevent that stone from hitting the ground. You cannot. It has already happened." He scoops up that same rock. And he holds it out like this. And he opens his hand again.
Catch it.
You have no power to change what has come before. But you have the power to learn from what has come before. The past will always be in the past. The future is never set in stone. And it is only in the present that we have the power to take the past, the present, to influence them. He says, Nimue's father would tell you that seeking revenge, righting past wrongs, letting this drive you, is not the proper way of the Naporian Lunar Warrior. And he is right. But there are like 60 Lunar Warrior in the world. And there are many, many other. He points to the blade that you wield. He says, I did not give this to you so that you would be a Lunar Warrior. I gave this to you because I see the light that burns within you. And a proper warrior should have a proper blade. If a wrong has been done, and the fire within you burns to make it right, then do so. You cannot change the past, but you can make sure that the future is correct.
I just bow as I'm thinking over what he said, because now there's a million things in my brain. And she does not want to embarrass herself by babbling at Hachiro.
You bow, and he sort of turns away from you, and he says, "It is time." And as you follow his gaze, you kind of realize that the sort of orange glow of the lanterns, or the candles that he's got set over here, and the sort of the twinned mirrored version that Zen's set up, have kind of like rippled across the slightly moving surface of this little like pond. But as they kind of weave across the surface of the water towards each other, towards the center, they actually like shift chromatically from from this whitish orangish color from these lanterns towards the center. You begin to see like almost like a bluish twinge begins to take shape on the surface of the water. And then in the center of this pool, a faintly glowing bluish aura sort of begins to take shape. And a few moments later, a form kind of solidifies from this like kind of moat of vaguely ethereal light. And you see, standing on one leg in the center of this little pool of water, is a creature that, for all the world, looks like a heron. It is this sort of slender, long-necked bird, standing, one leg like tucked up into its body, the other kind of down in the water. It has sort of like a blackish stripe of feathers from the eye that is kind of facing you. Except the main difference between this creature and like a normal heron is that instead of having feathers of like white or grayish, the feathers are this like almost iridescent blue, as if you're like looking into the hottest part of a fire, and it has like taken material form into the feathers of this creature. And this incandescent creature kind of like stands in the center of this pool and just sort of like dips its beak down into the water and like seems to take a drink. And Hachiro gestures at it, and he says, "This is Osajibi." He says, "It is in the common language. I do not know the words. It is spirit of sort. From it, I get a fine reagent that I use to temper my blades." He says, "But it is a delicate process. We must ask permission of the spirit to give us this gift. And the SOGB is temperamental and frightful." He kind of like looks across towards where Zen is standing, and he like begins to raise sort of like one hand in kind of Zen's direction, like about to make a gesture, but he like pauses halfway up and he pulls his hand back and he like kind of scans the area and does another one of those like deep inhales and then lets out the breath, and you feel like the wind moves through the trees again. And he says to you, Rowan, he says, "Ready, Chikai."
I pull it out immediately.
Um,
And I keep like the pool here, and I'm looking out. Like I'm still trying to keep him in the pool and see Zen in my line of sight, but
he's looking like directly at the pool. As he says this, and he lifts his walking stick and like settles it in front of him. And you see the like flickering, glimmering ripples of light on the surface of the water, the ones that are still of that like golden ember color from your lanterns and your candles. They begin to kind of like ripple a little faster, and they almost seem to like, oh, we lost somebody. They seem to slide across the water and coalesce into like larger, vaguely glowing shapes just beneath the surface of the water, which in a quick series of pow, 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 splashes rise up, and you see these four little creatures. They're maybe 2 feet tall a piece. They have these spindly little arms and legs, these sort of elongated heads, but all of this shape to them is only the kind of the suggestion of like a form. They're not really fully solid so much as they seem to be made out of flickering firelight and like flame. And these four creatures like kind of like pop out and they like lick these like sharp little flame teeth that they have, and they all set their eyes right on that blue flame heron spirit that's in the center, which sort of like perks up and like snaps its head around in alarm. And he says, "Fire imps, protect the spirit at all cost."
I look at him and I look at Zen.
Zen also has a sword out. He's
okay. I was worried. I was trying to figure out who had what.
He acted pretty much as fast as you did. Okay. Zen from the other side pulled the sword out.
If Hachiro says protected at all costs, I'm also assuming that means I can get in this water and get in between the spirit and these things, or make my way there. So I'm just doing what he says. I'm like, nope, running.
You take off running. You're only a few steps from the edge of the pool, and as you take your first step, your foot splishes into like just that first like inch or two of water, and you like pass the threshold of like where like the pool meets the ground. You feel it's almost, you feel as if you have passed through like some sort of a thick curtain, like a curtain of like extra thick air for a moment. And without any other like tangible change, sensory change in your perception, you have like stepped into another world almost. You see the blue spirit heron in the center of the pool still. You see the 4 fire imps. You see Zen on the far side of the pool has stepped over the boundary as well, and Hachiro you hear come behind you. But the pool itself is now like a flat expanse which extends like far off beyond your perception and swirls with prismatic motes of light of all these different blues and greens and turquoises and yellows and of all these different colors beneath you. And the like everything above the water is like a completely blank void. Just like blackness that extends. The stars the ring of Egeria is gone. You just see the faintest sort of like ghostly shadows of something, like kind of like lights or shapes or celestial bodies or something in this like expansive black void. But as you kind of like look, you can't quite focus on them. It's like in the corner of your eye, and every time you try to look, it just sort of like slips from your perception. But this spirit heron, this blue creature in the center of the pond here, is like blazing bright. And these little like imp creatures are rushing towards it. So you rush to its defense. You hear Hachiro behind you. You see Zen coming from the other side of the pool. And the group of you converge to interpose yourself between these fire imps and this creature. And I had one more thing to do in Glasgow, but as it seems like Russell is not coming back, I think that is where we're going to end the session for tonight instead. So that is
he was trying to fix it. He messaged and said that it's
that's right. That seems to
be difficult.
Reason, it seems to be like right towards the end of session. The last how many weeks? It's like there's like a 9:30 window where like they're in at their house, just like takes a crap. So it is what it is. No worries on that account. We will stop there for the night. But I will bid you adieu there. We will wish you farewell as Rowan is in Macbeth's spot. Thyxus is in his own spot, but slightly over. And I think that's not me in either of those right now. I think that's just like the other half of both Thyxus and Rowan in Rowan's original spot. So we will bid you adieu there. We will pick up next week. Let's see if I can't. No, I'm not in any of these. We will pick up next week with the Fool's Errant, who have, at least for the time being, staunched the flow of Ignean Imperial invading forces into the capital city of Mithlande, halfway across the continent from where all of this story is taking place, and are trying to regroup and make a rush to attempt to reach the king before the invading army does. And then the week after that, we'll be back here for another episode of Delve Requisite, as we will see what is happening back on Naporia with this spirit heron, and we will see what it is that this lone sailor from Captain Charles Fredericks Joule has brought tidings of to the island of Glasgow. So, thank you guys for sticking with us tonight. I saw a lot of people in chat. I appreciate everybody for hanging out with us. Jazzman NAH, too lazy to NHS, too lazy to play myself. I'm sure they have bid us adieu, but Praetor's Rejects was with us for a while earlier on. Dogs for Life, as always. Mystic Water, Bar Too Hard. All of our folks in chat here, thank you for joining us. We appreciate getting to share our D&D nonsense with you folks. Thank you to our sponsors, Little Dragon Corp and Cardboard Castle.
And thank you, Matt.
Oh, and thank me.
Thank you, Matt.
Always. always.
Look, I appreciate the thanks, but it's either this or this is just me shouting this into my own empty room. So
during the session, I just wish that our viewers at home would have been able to watch you role play with your dog in the background, tossing the ball up to himself and and then hitting the floor and rolling around us.
Let me see if there's a way. I don't think I can show that. Like the camera, the camera for people behind the curtain, the camera that like stream sees, has my like green screen set up and stuff, is not. There's a different camera that I have set up so that like my players can see, because like the video feed won't go into both OBS and like Discord for them to be able to see me. So like they have a view which is like, this looks all nice because my green screen's behind and everything. Their view is like half of my green screen and like the back wall of my office and like my dog just like meandering around during stream. So it's like
So good. It was so good.
I think by those rules we have the better view because puppy.
but well, puppy, that's true.
Mm.
She's asleep now. She had a Kong that she was eating, and she finished it. She's like, all right, I'm asleep. So she's in her bed sleeping. But anyway, thank you guys all for sticking with us. Be sure to tune in right here on Proficiency Bonus for all sorts of other D&D content and other tabletop RPG type of content coming up very shortly. We have any special streams or anything like that in the works, or it's just kind of our normal rotation?
Power Rangers is going to premiere on February the 5th, Saturday morning at 9 a.m. So we're going to have that going on with, there is a schedule that has the live dates, and it also includes the separated YouTube video episodes that are going to be releasing on Sunday afternoons at 3 p.m. on our YouTube channel.
Heck yeah. All right. If you are a fan of teenagers in bodysuits that fight monsters and have a giant robot, and for that, I will only accept Power Rangers stream if indeed all of the people on the stream have to wear like full morph suits the whole time. Anyway, thank you guys for joining us. We will catch you next time right here on Proficiency Bonus for Delve Requisite. We will, of course, see you next Tuesday. Bye!